Alright, let's get started. Learning quantitative techniques, quantitative and analytical techniques for managers. Here we go. So, here I am, and this is you. You are not ready to practice statistics, and you want to master it. It's not possible. You cannot become perfect without practice. Practice is the key, and there is no shortcut to skip the learning process. So statistics wasn't a very preferable subject by good students, but now it is. It's the core of data analysis, machine learning, big data. I'm sure you would be familiar with the term big data. The data that is so enormous that your conventional computer processing is insufficient to do justice to that data. So we need massive computer power, and we need good knowledge of statistics to make use of the data, right? So that's where you people would come in. So take statistics seriously. It's a very integral, important part of data analytics and data analysis. So you won't be able to become good without practice. So you need to take it heads on and be ready to practice. Okay, here we go. We have learning objectives to understand the research process. For what? So that we can learn how to do research from start till the end. To understand the philosophy of social science and epistemology. What are these new words you may not have heard ever? Social science, if put in the least complex words, social science is the study of societies and how people behave and interact with each other. And epistemology is the study of how we know things and what it means to know something. So this is a concept we will explain in the coming slides. Coming to the next learning outcome statement. To be able to read journal articles, books that use theory and quantitative methods and critically appraise their research methods, results and conclusions. To put it simply, you need to learn, you will learn how to learn to read and evaluate scholarly work that uses numbers and theory. And finally, to be able to conduct your own empirical research using quantitative data and communicate it clearly in words. So you will learn how to do your own research with numbers and explain it clearly. Epistemology, the theory of knowledge. Epistemology is about understanding how we gain knowledge and trust what we know. So here's how it works with some examples. Let's see. How do we know what we know? For example, you know it's raining because you look outside and see water falling from the sky. So you use your observation to understand this, that it's raining outside. So this is how do you know what you know. Then, what status do we give knowledge or statement? Let's say, when a doctor tells you that an apple is healthy to eat, you trust this more than just hearing it from a friend who isn't a health expert. So you give doctor's statement higher status because of their experience, because of their expertise. They have spent considerable time learning about health. So you believe more what the doctor tells you than what your friend says. How is knowledge advanced? It evolves. Knowledge is an evolutionary process. It keeps on evolving. We keep on learning new things. For example, people once thought Earth was the center of the universe. But through more research, through observations, through advanced telescope, scientists discovered that Earth orbits the Sun. Sun itself orbits around the center of the galaxy, Milky Way. So this way we updated our understanding of solar system. So things evolve. In Newtonian mechanics, we believed that time is absolute. Then later on, Einstein discovered that time is relative. So this added on to our knowledge. So knowledge evolves. Knowledge changes it updates as the time passes. So we keep on updating our knowledge. Okay, now let us advance our knowledge. Some debatable points. What is the relationship between company sales and weather? Yes, in some businesses there is a very clear relationship. A store that sells more umbrellas when it rains, this means when it's rainy, sales can increase, and when it is a dry weather, the sale will fall. So that is clearly provable. And of course, only for some businesses, some items that sell or they have correlation with the weather. What is the relationship between class size and the student's performance? Well, in a smaller class of 5 students, let's say, each student might get more attention from me or from the teacher. So this would potentially improve their grades compared to a class where there are 40 students. So this is clearly an understandable point. But what if those 5 students are dumb and not interested in studies? So that even a smaller number of students in a class is not a guarantee that the students will perform better. So there are other factors as well. Is global warming caused by human activity? Cars and factories emit gases, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and these two gases, especially carbon dioxide, it forms a layer around the Earth's surface, and this is what heats up the Earth's atmosphere. So this suggests that human activity like driving and manufacturing contribute to global warming because of the carbon dioxide emissions. So this is fine, makes sense. What determines firms' innovation? Well, a firm that is innovative, let's say a tech firm, that invests in research and hires creative engineers, it might develop new technologies faster than other competing firms in the same industry. What determines the firm's growth? Is it sales only? Primarily, yes. What if you have just location of your business in a particular geographical area and you don't expand? You are selling, but you're not expanding. You have just your physical presence in one location X, for example. Compared to another business, Y, that doesn't have as much sales, but they open branches in different locations. So they open more branches and offer their popular product to the masses. So it might grow faster than the shop that doesn't expand or update its menu. So from sales alone doesn't guarantee the business will grow. These alternative strategies may work equally well. What is the statistical pattern of pandemic? Means in which months do we see high incidence of infections? In which months or seasons do we see less? It's common sense. During a flu pandemic, the number of sick people might rapidly increase in winter months and decrease as temperature rise. So that shows us a seasonal pattern in how the disease spreads. Of course, you would have noticed during winter, many people get flu, but when the weather is hot, you see less incidence of flu. In 1939, Jan Tingvergen conducted a study for the League of Nations. This is considered the first use of statistical methods, specifically regression analysis. We discussed this in one of our other lectures. Regression analysis, 2 variables are connected. Like, let's say, take a more relevant example. Our sales and advertisement. Are they correlated? Yes. How do we know? Through regression studies, through regression analysis. When you spend more money on advertisement, your sales increases, and vice versa. When you spend less money on advertisement, so you won't be able to attain higher sales. So that is the result of regression analysis. So aim to provide theoretical explanation and empirical testing of the business cycle. Let us first discuss what is a business cycle, or sometimes called economic cycle. Every 8 or 10 years, that I've seen for the last 3 decades. It was 1998, Far East Asian currency crisis, then it was 2008, subprime mortgage crisis. Then in 2018 and 19 we saw pandemic. I don't know, but after every 8 and 10 years there's a crisis that results in downturn in business activity, and no one can explain why does it happen every 8 to 10 years. So what happens actually? What is economic or business cycle? Economy picks up, reaches a point, boom, and then it slides down, recession, and then it lasts for a longer period called slump. So growth, boom, recession, slump. Again growth, boom, recession, slump. So this goes on and on and on and on. And it's happening. I have seen these three incidences in my life. This is called business cycle or economic cycle. So this gentleman used a method called regression analysis, which helps figure out how different things are connected. And this method later became a big part of econometrics, which uses maths to study economics. So what is the impact of his work? This work led to some criticism from another famous economist, John Maynard Keynes, one of the famous English economists, who questioned how Tinbergen's method worked and whether his assumptions were correct. So these discussions are important for students of learning statistics and economics today as we speak. Okay, current issues in international business, sources of economic growth and prosperity. So what are the sources of economic growth in the West? Technology, investment, education. Do they really help an economy grow and become wealthier? These are the questions we need to answer. Causes of financial crisis and recession. 1998 Far East Asian currency crisis, 2008 subprime mortgage crisis. What causes these crises? Is it high debts, poor financial regulations in the US? These two crises originated in the US. One in the US in 2008 and one 1998 war in East Asian countries. So is it because of poor financial regulations? The regulators who regulate the economy, is it because of them? Or economic shocks that lead to severe economic downturns? Then the sources of productivity growth at national, regional, industrial and firm level. Is it because of improvement in work methods, improvement in technology, improvement in skills of workers? These are the factors that determine productivity. Productivity is simply a measure of how many units a worker produces in a day, in an hour, or a machine produces in 1 hour. Determinants of business performance. What determines business performance? Management quality, of course. Market conditions, stable economy, yes. Innovation, all these affect business performance. Can green solutions increase business performance? Green solution means maybe you are in production of chemicals, so your manufacturing process discharges some harmful gases in the atmosphere. So if you use green technology which processes these gases before they are released in the atmosphere, that would require cost. So even spending intensively on green technology, will you be still profitable? So it's about exploring whether environmentally friendly practices can also enhance your profitability, your efficiency. Uses of QM, quantitative methods, to provide empirical evidence. Yes, QM uses data to support or reject observations and theory, to test hypotheses. Yes, QM allows researchers to statistically, with the use of statistics, determine whether should they support an idea or prediction or should they reject an idea or prediction, proposed idea and prediction. Then we have to advance understanding and knowledge. Yes, QM helps deepen insights into various fields by analyzing numerical data. We can use that data to identify some patterns. It will reveal some patterns and relationships. So this can be used to analyze data further and hence advance our understanding and knowledge. Like in one of lectures we discussed that increase in the years of education at a university increases your hourly earnings, means you spend more time in education in a university. You spend 4 years or 7 years. It means if you spend more time in a university, your prospects of earning a higher wage or salary would increase. Means higher number of years spent in a university could mean that you may earn more than others. The deductive research process from general to specific means we establish an idea or principle and then we test it. So all cars are red. That's a general idea. Therefore, my car is red. The sun rises every day. General to specific. Therefore, the sun will rise today. So in deductive analysis, we will establish an idea or principle and then we will test it. And then based upon this idea and principle, we will be able to draw a conclusion or reach to a specific point in decision making. Alright, so our theory, an established idea. Let's take an idea. Our idea or our principle is that more education leads to higher income. That's what we discussed a little while ago. So now we need a model, a simplified representation of reality at which we can test our theory. What theory? What established idea? That more education leads to higher income. So what model could it be? Maybe we would conduct an interview of, let's say, conduct a random interview of 30 professionals and we'll ask them what they earn and what is their education accomplishment, how many years did they spend at the university, right? So this will help us establish an economic model that shows how years of education correlate with the average income. So based on this, we can establish a testable prediction derived from the theory. What theory? More education leads to higher income. So let us make a testable prediction. And this is people with college degrees earn 20% more than those without. So we collect data. Collected information used to test the hypothesis. Income data could come from the national survey, your tax information published by the tax departments, or you may ask through interviews. So this way, empirical analysis using data means applying statistical method to data to see if the hypothesis hold true. Means statistical method means you use regression analysis on the survey data to see the impact of education on income. We want to see how the years at a university affect the earning. So it will lead to either or situation. Either our hypothesis is confirmed or rejected. So it's more likely that your analysis confirms that people with college degrees, those who spend more time in university, earn significantly more. So this can further lead to revision to theory. For example, you can refine your theory to bring in other factors like vocational training or maybe some other qualification that has more market potential. So based upon these, we can use the revised theory to make future projections or policy recommendations. So finally, this process would help researchers and policymakers understand and predict social phenomena, ultimately guiding decisions based on empirical evidence that yes, spending more time at a university means taking a graduation degree or a master's degree would enable an individual to earn more. Or we could further refine it like getting a vocational education, professional certification like CFA or CPA or an ACCA would be more suitable for an individual to earn more in the future. So, theoretical modeling, how does it help us? Theoretical models are used to help us understand a more complex reality. Yes, theoretical modeling is like creating simplified maps or diagrams to understand how businesses and economies work. So this is true, makes sense. The behavior of the firms and economies are shaped by complex set of factors: their internal organization, managers' behavior, competition, international trade, the regulatory and policy regimes, and so on. Yes, makes sense. These models consider many things like how a company is organized, how managers act, what's the level of competition in which the firm is operating, the industry in which it is operating, trade with other countries, and the government rules, the regulatory regime. And then finally, there are feedback effects. Some firms may influence their markets environments via market power. Yes, if some firms are dominant in their industry, like monopolies, so they can influence the whole industry. So they also look at how a company's actions can change the market it operates in. Like Microsoft, the leading operating system maker in the world. So, such as gaining more control over prices due to its size or influence. Microsoft is large, biggest in the operating systems market. So this helps us grasp complex real-world situations in a more manageable way. It says it's hard to model such complexities, so we may make some simplifying assumptions. Yes, because real-world business scenarios are very complex. Monopolistic competition, monopoly, oligopoly, so there are complex dynamics, market structures. So these theoretical models simplify them by making basic assumptions about how things work, so at least it will make it understandable for us. For example, we may make some simplifying assumptions about the behavior of a business owner and managers. For example, we might assume owners aim to maximize profits and managers aim to maximize their salaries. That's why our assumption, it could be totally wrong. Maybe the owner has some social objectives, so maximizing profit may not be his main aim, and managers may not be focusing on their salaries alone. They might be focusing on their status, on their professional expertise, or rather maintaining their high position within the organization. Then it says theoretical abstractions using modeling can be a powerful tool in helping us understand key aspects of a problem. Yes, these simplified models we discussed above help us focus on the most important parts of a problem, so making it easier to understand the problem and find a solution or solutions to these problems. Here is a model of a complex reality. This is an older map that shows a detailed and geographically accurate representation of Greater London and its transportation network. Then, in 1933, Harry Beck made this revolutionary design. He simplified the complex layout of London Underground into a more abstract, easy to read diagram. I can't see it clearly, but it probably shows some straight lines, routes using some clear bold colors. And yes, this is what it looks like today. It has stood the test of time. This is the current London Underground map, which builds on Beck's design principles. It further simplifies and rather stylizes the network to include more lines, more stations and updates and all that. You can see it's much more clearly visible and more refined. So this map is a proof to how Beck's abstract design has endured as an effective tool for navigating the complex network of the London Underground. So these maps exemplify how a theoretical model can effectively simplify complex reality to provide more practical, user-friendly information that stands the test of time. Perfect. The value of theoretical modeling. It says abstract modeling allows us to focus on key questions. For example, how to use the underground rail network to get from A to B. Yes, theoretical models like subway maps simplify complex information to help us focus on key aspects, such as finding the best way to get from one place A to another B using public transport. Then, it says, however, Harry Beck's iconic map of the underground is not much help if we travel between A and B by road. Yes, the design he gave for the learner underground is a great help for navigating the subway, but it isn't useful for understanding the road travel because it doesn't show actual geographical distances on the road layout. So probably in 1933 it was impractical to do so. Then it says the assumption that the routes can be represented by straight lines is too restrictive and unrealistic when applied to roads rather than underground train lines. Yes, Beck's map uses straight line for clarity and simplicity. Let's see these. So these straight lines were for clarity and simplicity. This approach doesn't work well for road maps where the real paths and real distances matter. And they matter more than just connectivity by simply using these straight lines. So these 3 points highlight how theoretical models are useful, yes, for specific purposes, but may not be suitable for all situations due to their simplified nature. Economic reforms and the corporate performance. Suppose we are interested in the effects of government policy or reforms on business performance. For example, privatization of state-owned enterprises. Let's say, being a British government, I want to privatize NHS, National Health Service. A sin, you might say. But let's say we want to make it profitable. It's a state-owned entity. The objective is not profit maximization, but let's say we want to make it a profitable business like any private sector entity, right? Right now it's not profitable. The profit is not an objective of NHS. It is funded primarily through taxation and national insurance contributions. It's a non-profit entity in a way. But let's say we want to privatize it to make it a profitable private sector entity. So we may theorize as follows. When we make this economic reform, we privatize NHS. Since now it's run by private individuals like you and me who love profit, change the incentive faced by owners, managers and workers. Now once it's a private sector entity, I as the owner want money. Managers will be forced to work more efficiently and workers would be required to give their maximum best rather than job assurance and job security. So these changes will have a great impact upon profitability. So change the behavior of owner, manager and workers, it would result changes in corporate performance. It will become a profitable entity. So here our focus is on particular relationship, that if the ownership moves from state to the private individuals, this change in ownership would have effect on corporate profitability. Most likely a private sector business is run more efficiently, so clearly profitability is expected to go up. So here our statement of theory or hypothesis is that the private owners are more efficient and effective in running a business. That's our theory. So a business ownership type influences business performance. Yes, a private sector individual running his own business will do everything to make it profitable. So keeping other factors same, ceteris paribus means keeping all other factors, fashion, taste, trend, price of actions of competitors, supplementary goods, complementary goods, everything else remains same. We just change the ownership. Everything else stays the same. Only the ownership moves from state to a private individual, private owner. So as private shares ownership increase, a business is run more efficiently, hence profitability increases. This is our hypothesis which we want to test. So this represents our statistical model. This represents rate of profit. X here represents ownership structure, now private sector. Alpha is the fixed coefficient. Then here Z denotes other variables that affect profitability. Of course, your profit is dependent upon very, very large number of variables. Could be like type of ownership, advertisement spending, number of sales staff, competition in the industry in which you're operating, interest rates, tax rates, population, this, that, blah, blah, and blah. So many factors affect profitability. And for this reason, we made this assumption, keeping other factors constant, and we just want to see the effect of change in ownership only. How does changing this variable alone affects profitability? So we are interested in beta 1 only. So we could test the hypothesis by estimating beta 1. That's our focus. Either it's positive or negative. So we need to keep all other factors in control. All other factors must stay fixed. For example, that's called ceteris paribus, keeping all other factors constant. Right? So we would also need to control all other factors that may influence profitability to help ensure that our estimates of beta 1 are accurate. To do this, we would include other variables. So if beta 1 is positive and significantly different from 0, our hypothesis is confirmed. What is the hypothesis? That business ownership type influences business performance. A private sector business entrepreneur is more likely to run the business more efficiently and make it more profitable, and it will be very profitable in the hands of a private individual, right? And if it is negative or 0, our hypothesis is rejected. So this is what we can do. We could collect data on profitability of firms and their ownership structure. Take 50, 100, 150, 200 firms, right? Examples of suitable variables for profitability include rate of return on capital or return on equity. These are the formulas we use. Return on capital, also called return on assets, is the net income generated by the capital deployed, which is the total assets, in other words. And return on equity, that is ROE, it is net income expressed as a percentage of common equity. So these are the two measures of profitability. And C, this profitability, if it is correlated with the type of ownership. The other aspect is the use. Examples of suitable ownership variables include either percentage of shares held by the private sector, 50% private, 50% government, 70% private, 30% government, or the percentage of shares traded on the stock exchanges, right? So this would help us see the type of ownership. Quantitative analysis and interpretation. That's what we've done. This involves using numerical data, ROE, ROC, ownership type, to find patterns, test ideas, and make conclusions about the research question. What was our research question? The change in ownership affects profitability. So, conclusions, drawing final insights or decisions based on the analysis of the data gathered. And this results in new knowledge. Discovering or creating new information or theories through the process of research and analysis. We may in the end conclude that change in ownership indeed affects profits of the business. If NHS is privatized, it will become a very profitable business. The philosophy of social science. The philosophy of social science explores how we study society and human behavior. It examines the methods we use, assumptions and values that guide researchers in understanding a social phenomena. So this field asks questions about what we can know about society and how we can know it. It says underlying research methods and philosophies, means the basic approaches and theories guiding how social science research is conducted. Positivism. Positivism believes that social sciences should be as scientific as natural sciences, means using observations and experiments to find the truth, not just guessing only, observations and experiments to find the truth. Interpretivism, it means focusing on understanding the deeper meaning and experiences behind the social phenomena rather than just facts. Like, for example, social phenomena, private ownership, more efficiently run business, high profitability. Fine. What is behind this? Private individual has self-interest. He has put his personal wealth in the business, so he needs to take care. It's not anyone else's money, it's his money. So he has to make sure that he makes the right use of his money and he generates positive returns on his investments. Next, it says critical realism or ontological consideration. It means that what we observe is influenced by underlying structures and mechanisms which are not immediately visible. For example, imagine a large company where the employees are unhappy. So on the surface, it might seem that they are unhappy because they don't like their jobs. However, critical realism would encourage us to look deeper to find the reason, the underlying structure causing this unhappiness. Is it because of poor management, or maybe bad working environment, unfair policies? Because these things are not immediately obvious. So these deeper issues influence the visible problem of employee dissatisfaction. That is what you call the critical realism, going behind what could appear on the surface. Pluralism. Pluralism means the idea of using multiple methods and theories to understand a complex social phenomena. Sometimes a social phenomena could be so complex that just one theory isn't enough. Private sector businesses are more profitable, so there could be many theories to explain this complex phenomena. That is pluralism. Positivism includes the following elements. Economic and social behavior can be investigated by the methods of natural science. Means economic and social behaviors can be studied by using scientific methods. Economic and social behavior is rule governed. What it means that the social events are governed by rules. Private ownership and profits are governed by rules, are governed by social sciences. So we should try to find these rules. That's what it says. There is one unifying method that social scientists should adopt. This is a very important point. This suggests that by using a standardized method like systematic observation and using statistical analysis, social scientists can produce reliable and objective findings. So which means that this approach would ensure that findings are comparable and verifiable. A scientist A, B, C, D, they will reach the same conclusion. So the findings are comparable and verifiable, similar to the method used by scientists in the fields of physics, chemistry, geology, etc. So that's the main point here. Then it says it is possible to distinguish between fact and values. So facts here mean objective facts, verifiable facts, and values here means what's in your mind, your opinion, your subjective opinions. So you need to distinguish between what is an objective fact versus what is just your opinion, a subjective opinion which may vary across individuals.
Early or logical positivism is also based on the notion that the meaningful statements are derived from logic or mathematics and or the empirical observation statement that may be subject to empirical testing. What does it mean? It says that logical positivism is a philosophy that says that meaningful statements must come from logic or mathematics. This means that ideas should be clear and based on logical or mathematical reasoning, not just any hunch or whatever comes in my mind I just say and people would start believing it. It has to have some mathematical reasoning, it has to have some logic to it. Second part says the statement should be based on observation that can be tested. Yes, I can't just say what is in the air, I can't build the castles in the air, I have to say what can be verified. For a statement to be considered reliable, it should be possible to check it through experiments or observable evidence. If I say that a person who has spent 5 years in a university doing some masters or graduation, he is more likely to earn high salary. If this is what my claim, then that it has to be verifiable, it has to be observable. There must be observable evidence. Yes, go out in the market and see the graduates who are doing jobs, so they will clearly be earning more salary than non-graduates. So essentially, explanation should be based on logical deduction or logical inference and should be empirically testable. Yes, logical positivism holds that for any statement or theory to be meaningful, it must be either logically provable, you can prove it mathematically, or it can be empirically verified. Go and observe and see for yourself. So this approach focuses on scientific rigor and empirical evidence to build knowledge. Empirical evidence means you are able to prove through observation. Characteristics of positivism. The world exists independently of knowers. It's objective, yes. It means that reality doesn't change based on who is observing it. So positivism believes that the world exists as it is. It doesn't get affected to what we think or feel. It exists independently of our thoughts or our feelings about it. It makes perfect sense. Okay, what next? There is a clear distinction between the subjective knower and objective world between facts and values. This is an important characteristic. Positivism makes a strong distinction between what people feel and what actual facts are. Objective, remember, subjective is what you feel, what you think, what you perceive. And objective means the actual facts. So it argues that scientific research should focus only on things that can be observed objectively, that can be measured, and it must not be influenced by personal feelings, personal biases, personal opinions. So you have to have a very clear distinction between what you feel versus what the actual facts are. So a clear distinction between subjectivism and objectivism. There is order and reason in the social world. Social life is characterized by regularity of cause and effect nature. So this is the third characteristic. It says positivism views the social world as orderly and logical, similar to the natural world. It believes that social events happen in predictable pattern and can be understood through the study of cause and effect. Cause and effect is that if I hit you hard, you will feel the pain. So the pain that you feel is the effect, and what I did, punched you in the belly, that's the cause. Right? Just a crude example, but this is how things work. There has to be a cause, and this cause has some effects. So events can be understood through study, and cause effect means what you can say that the social events happen in a predictable pattern that can be understood through the application of cause and effect principle. Continuing with the characteristics of positivism, knowledge is arrived at through the application of reason, through observation, enhanced by experiment and measurement and testing. Through observation enhanced by experiment, measurement and testing. What does it mean? It's simply refining upon the ideas we previously learned. Positivism believes that true knowledge comes from using logical thinking, application of reason, through scientific methods like experiments and measurement. This means we learn about the world by carefully observing it and testing our ideas to see if they are correct. Then it says all the sciences or disciplines are based on same method. It says positivism holds that all areas of study, whether physics or sociology, should use the same scientific approach to investigate truths. And what ways? This means using a method that are objective and based on evidence. The philosophy of science can be applied to social sciences. Social sciences, what it is, as we've been discussing for so long. Study of human society and the social relationships. So it says the principle we use in natural sciences like chemistry, biology, physics should also be used in social sciences like sociology, psychology. So this approach is based on the belief that social phenomena just like natural phenomena, can be observed, can be measured, and understood scientifically. So the philosophy of science can be applied on natural sciences as well as on social sciences. That's the basic idea. So overall, positivism emphasizes that scientific methods are the best way to obtain reliable knowledge, both about the natural world through natural sciences and human society, that would talk about social sciences. A positivist methodology emphasizes deduction. We are going to discuss this in the coming slide. Deduction simply is starting with a general idea or a theory. You start with an idea or a theory and then test it through some specific observations or experiments to see if this theory of yours holds true. We'll discuss in detail. Then determinacy. It says everything happens for a definite reason, and these reasons can be discovered through research. We'll see in the coming slides. Then rationality, consistency. It means the use of logical and consistent methods to study and understand some phenomena, ensuring that findings are reliable and can be replicated, means can be applied elsewhere as well. Impersonality or objectivity. It says that keeping your personal biases out of the research to ensure that the findings are based purely on the data and not influenced by the researcher's feeling or opinions. Like, for example, I have some serious bias towards a certain nationality, very serious bias. So if I bring that bias in my analysis and my studies, then definitely my analysis would lack objectivity, would lack impersonality. This shouldn't come in your work. I need to keep my personal bias out of the research so that I can ensure that my findings are based purely on the data and they are not influenced by my feelings or opinions. Then prediction. That means using established theories and data to make predictions about what might happen under certain conditions in the future. Let's say take the example that we've been discussing. What might happen if you spend 4 years at a university doing your graduation? What should you expect as your earning? Based upon some established theory. So using established theories and data to make prediction about the future. This is what it is. Deduction versus induction. Deductive reasoning versus inductive reasoning. Deduction uses a general rule. It starts with a general rule to make specific conclusions. So basically it starts from a known fact and applies it to individual cases. Like all cars are red, right? A general rule. Specific conclusion, therefore my car is red. General rule, the sun rises every day. Specific conclusion, therefore the sun will rise today. This is called deductive reasoning. In induction, we do the opposite. We use the specific observation to construct or form a general conclusion. So basically it starts from individual cases to make broader generalization. Like my car is red, a specific observation. So the general conclusion is therefore all cars are red, which may or may not be true. The sun rose today, the specific observation. So therefore the sun will rise tomorrow. So it starts from individual cases to make a broader generalization. So this table you see on your screen, it highlights the direction of reasoning in each method. General to specific, that is deduction. From specific to general, it's induction. Deductive reasoning. A general principle or a body of principles that has been developed to explain a wide range of phenomena. That's the first starting point. Then we develop a hypothesis, a specific testable prediction derived from a theory, outlining what results are anticipated if the theory is accurate. Observation and data analysis. This involves the process of collecting and examining data to investigate the hypothesis. Usually it involves empirical methods and statistical evaluation. And finally, we draw conclusions, that is, decisions or judgments derived from the data analysis, determining whether the trial or the initial hypothesis is supported or refuted by the observation. So this flowchart basically shows how deductive reasoning starts with the theory, uses specific hypothesis and data, and reaches a conclusion. Whereas inductive reasoning, it works in reverse. It starts from observation and data to build upon a general, broader theory. Criticisms of positivism. The first line says, empirical evidence, hypothesis testing, and general or scientific laws based on reduced form models. Well, this criticism argues that positivism often relies on simplified models or observable evidence to test theories and create laws. However, these simplified models might not capture the full complexity of the real world. The next is problems of measurement, causality, observation equivalence, spurious correlation. That's basically John Maynard Keynes' critique of statistical analysis. It says positivism faces challenges like accurately measuring what we intend to study, establishing cause and effect relationship, ensuring different observations are comparable, and avoiding false correlation. What is a false correlation? Where two things seem related but they are not. That's what you call the spurious correlation, false correlation. Observation equivalence means observations are comparable, and causality means there's a cause and effect. Next it says vast amount of possible evidence, small amount of data. It says there could be a lot of potential evidence available to test theories, but only a small limit amount of data is actually used. Like for example, we want to establish a correlation between the years of studies in a university and your earning, but we might test only, or maybe we observe only 40 or 50 professionals who would be interviewed, but there could be millions and millions of others as a potential evidence available to us to test the theories. So it says that we may not have enough data to thoroughly test or confirm theories. Then we have another criticism, interpretation of evidence, judgment. It says the way evidence is interpreted can vary. I can interpret in a different way, you may interpret in a different way. So it's often influenced by personal judgment or personal biases. So this means that conclusion drawn from the same data can differ among different people. Then it says the world may not exist independently of social actors. This point means that the world we see and understand might not really be the same if there were no people to observe. So basically how we know and experience the world depends a lot on us being here and interacting with us. So it's all, the world depends on us, on social actors. So world is nothing without us. The world may not exist independently of social actors, us. Okay, now what do you see? You see a duck. No. You see a rabbit. You see, this is its mouth, eye, one of its ear, and this is how it turns into a rabbit. So this is an optical illusion. We can be seeing either a duck or a rabbit depending on how one looks at it. Again, another optical illusion. So what do you see? This guy sees, it has a number is 9, but this one says no, it's 6.
So basically, your particular viewpoint depends on how you look at it. Theoretical perspectives and interpretation. Different theoretical approaches lead to different interpretations of empirical evidence. Means people using different theories can look at the same facts and come to different conclusions. Then it says debate between Keynesian and monetarists in 1980s. These are the two competing schools of thoughts in the study of economics. So in 1980s there was a big argument between two groups of economists. Keynesians who believe in government intervention in the economy, and monetarists who think controlling the money supply is more important. So they are looking at the same fact but from different point of views. Current debates on austerity measures versus fiscal stimulation in Greece. People have been arguing about whether countries like Greece should cut spending. That's what you call austerity. Cutting spending is called austerity. Or spend more. Fiscal stimulation means spending more to boost the economy. So they both look at the same issue but differently. Possibility that rival theories are incommensurable means incomparable. Possibility that rival theories are incomparable. Sometimes different theories are so unique in their approaches and assumptions that they can't be directly compared or measured against each other, like these monetarists versus Keynesians. Then it raises questions on how we choose between theories. This leads to a big question. How do we decide which theories is better when they are based on different foundations and then lead to different conclusions? So this is the issue we were discussing a little while ago, whether it's 9 or 6 or whether it's a duck or a rabbit. Further critique of positivism, exploring the duck-rabbit illusion. It says social scientists work within existing research traditions or paradigms. Paradigms means a set of beliefs that shape their method of inquiry and that influence the questions they ask and how they research them. Researchers work within a specific framework or set of beliefs or what we call paradigms. So these frameworks, these specific set of beliefs guide what they study, how they study it, and the types of questions they think are important to ask. Look at these. Previously we discussed Keynesians and monetarists. So they have different sets of beliefs and that guides them what they study, how they study. Then Keynesian traditionalist, neoclassical free market traditions we just discussed a little while ago. Okay, now what we have, the duck-rabbit problem we already discussed. Where do different perspectives and interpretations come from? There are competing research paradigms and traditions we discussed this a little while ago. Different sets of beliefs and methods used by researchers can lead to different viewpoints. 6 or 9, duck or rabbit. So different viewpoints, different interpretations of the same subject. There may not be order in the social world in the sense that there is no single set of rules regulating social phenomena. Instead, rules, behaviors may be historically and culturally determined. Now, what does this statement mean? It means the social world we live in, might not follow a neat set of rules. Instead, our behaviors and norms can vary greatly depending upon our historical and cultural context. Muslims and Christians will behave very differently in similar circumstances. Like for example, in Japan, giving and receiving gifts among business partners or business associates is viewed as a token of goodwill, as a gesture of goodwill. But in India, Pakistan, and UK, US, such exchange of gifts could mean bribes or just to get some unfair advantage. So see, same situation, but norms can vary greatly depending upon your specific cultural context or historical context. And then it says facts are not always value-free. What we consider as facts can be influenced by our personal beliefs, values, or our societal norms, our religion, and are not always completely objective or neutral. This is a very simple idea that our beliefs, our norms, they greatly influence what we consider as fact. Types of research methods, control experiments. Well, this is specifically relevant for the pharmaceutical industry where they test their medicine. So experiments where people are randomly assigned to a treatment or a control group to measure the effect of a specific variable, a specific medicine, for example. Then we have another type of research, natural experiments. Studies where the researcher simply observes the effect of real world condition as an experiment. So without any interference, without any controlling variable, just observe directly. Quantitative methods, methods that involve numerical data and statistical tools to find patterns or relationship, like using regression analysis to see how variables influence each other, like the typical example, your sales is linked with your advertisement, and so on and so forth. Qualitative methods. Qualitative methods involve collecting non-numerical data, like opinions of people. So it involves experiences through gaining input from individuals on the basis of surveys or interviews. Then we have triangulation of research method. That means using multiple methods or multiple data sources to study a research question to increase the confidence about the results you will get. So it's a combination of different research methods to get more dependable results. Controlled experiments in science. RCT basically stands for randomized controlled trials, and this is very much prevalent in pharmaceutical industry. So in controlled experiments like RCT, randomized controlled trials, they are used in medicine. Participants are randomly assigned to different groups to test the effect of the specific medicine, the effect of a treatment. Experiments can be repeated. Yes, experiments are designed so that other scientists can repeat them to see if they get the same results, confirming the findings. Hence, we may then get that medicine approved from the Drug Regulation Authority. Control experiments not easy in social sciences such as management. Yes, such controlled experiments are fine as far as the pharmaceutical industry is concerned, but it is harder to conduct control experiments in the fields like management. Why? Because controlling all influencing factors in social setting is challenging. Then natural experiments do occur. For example, the performance of business pre and post reform in China. So what are natural experiments? Natural experiments are unique types of research used especially in situations where controlled experiment methods are not feasible. So basically, a researcher is taking advantage of some naturally occurring circumstances rather than just constructing a situation to conduct an experiment. The typical example given here regarding reforms in China. In the last 20 years, China has implemented various economic reforms that significantly altered its regulatory and economic landscape. So these reforms include changes in property rights, deregulation. Deregulation means where the government allows private sector participation in economic activity. So these changes have had significant impact upon the Chinese economic growth. So this is basically a natural experiment. We could see the performance of the businesses before these reforms, means before, and post reforms. So we can compare the performance of the businesses before these reforms were incorporated and after these reforms. So this is clearly an observable, naturally occurring experiment for us. Statistical analysis. Sampling from a population and inference to be drawn. Means we select a smaller group from a larger population to analyze, then using the results to make general conclusions about entire population. Like for example, we were discussing the years in a university and your earning. We take just 40 or 50 sample size, and then based upon that sample, we make a conclusion or inference about the whole population. So that's it. You select a small group of individuals from a larger population, and then you use your results to make a general conclusion. Descriptive statistics means using numbers and graphs to summarize and describe the characteristic of the data set. Measure of central tendency and variance, these are the very important tools in statistics. Central tendency involves calculating the average. We discussed in our lecture elsewhere, mean, median, mode. Variance is the measure of spread. So central tendency involves calculating the average or the most common value like mean, median, mode, while variance measures how spread out the values are in the data set. Measures of association, correlation clearly. Techniques to determine how strongly two variables are related, such as correlation or regression coefficients, and then we use statistical models like ordinary least square regression analysis. We use them to predict or explain one variable based on the value of one or more other variables. In qualitative methods, we have case studies, interviews, surveys, and participants observation. So case study involves an in-depth examination of a single situation, an individual or a group, to explore and understand some complex issue in a real-life context. Interviews, clearly direct conversation with individuals aimed at gathering detailed information about their opinions, their experiences, their behavior, their this and that. Surveys are other method for collecting information by asking many individuals the same questions. And this can provide both numerical data and the detailed insights into the data. Then we have participant observation. You as a researcher, you immerse yourself in a group. You're a part of the group which you want to study. And you just observe behaviors and interactions yourself firsthand. And that's all.